In the Council's Hall of Infinite Knowledge, the only thing they feared was the unknown. They should have feared Earth. In the Council's Hall of Infinite Knowledge, the only thing they feared was the unknown. They should have feared Earth. The anomaly first whispered into the galaxy's ear as a ripple, barely a murmur in the vacuum near the Orion expanse. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a weapon. It was worse, a question without precedent. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, holograms flickering to life across the amphitheater carved into the orbiting shell world known as Zenith Prime. It was where threats were dissected and empires judged, where peace was negotiated and sometimes quietly vaporized. On this day, a blip, just a single point of impossible data, sat in the center of a floating star map. Origin, Sol System, the Ivrix envoy rasped, its tendrils pulsing with smug disbelief. Earth. Extinct since the carbon cataclysm. It cannot be. The Graalan Elder floated forward, its voice a sonorous rumble. Extinction does not always stick, especially with them. Murmurs rippled among the gathered species. The ZYLK general, armored in kinetic plating, snarled, "We'll send a strike fleet. Annihilate this ghost before it whispers to others." Cowards, the Valari diplomat cooed. Perhaps it's not a threat. Perhaps it's a malfunction. The map flickered. Suddenly, the anomaly moved, across 10 light-years, in a microsecond. No hyperspace signature. No wormhole. No explanation. Not a malfunction, the Graalan said grimly. That was a maneuver. They arrived 2 cycles later, a delegation of carefully chosen representatives from the Council's elite species, all tasked with determining what precisely had emerged from Earth's ashes. Their target was a vessel orbiting the exoplanet Halora 6, a Terran-class planet that, until yesterday, hadn't existed. Now it shimmered in blue-green perfection. The ship's name was painted in stark white against obsidian plating. EHS Paradox. It didn't make sense. There were no engines. No heat signature. No gravity wake. It simply hovered. Aboard the shuttle, the alien envoys shifted uncomfortably. The Ivrix curled inward. The ZYLK's hand hovered over their weapon. Only the Graalan Elder seemed calm. And then the human appeared. The shuttle doors hissed open to reveal a man, mid-40s by human estimates, tall, sharp-dressed, holding a steaming cup of black coffee. His smile was pleasant. His eyes were not. "Commander Elias Mercer," he greeted. "Welcome aboard. I see the galaxy still favors committees over curiosity." "You're human," the Valari ambassador breathed, as though saying it might undo the sight. "That's what it says on my tax forms." "You shouldn't exist," the Ivrix hissed. "Neither should Disco." "And yet," Mercer sipped, "some things persist." The delegation stepped inside. The ship's interior made even the oldest Graalan blink. There were no corridors, just shifting geometries. Angles that defied logic. Rooms that folded into themselves. Gravity that paused, then restarted as if catching its breath. "What kind of technology is this?" the ZYLK demanded. Mercer walked backward as if the floor followed his will. "It's not technology. It's a suggestion we made to the universe." And the universe, bless it, agreed. "But faster-than-light travel violates every natural constant," the Valari murmured. "Oh, absolutely," Mercer nodded. "That's why we stopped asking permission." The delegation was ushered into a lounge, complete with leather chairs, soft lighting, and jazz playing lightly from nowhere in particular. Mercer gestured to a table. "Let's talk. Or interrogate. Or threaten. However this usually goes." The ZYLK sat last, arms crossed. "What is your purpose here, human?" Mercer leaned in, his voice conversational. "You ever poke a bear, General?" "We crush bears." "Sure," Mercer nodded. "Now imagine the bear learned math while you were gone." The room went still. "You disappeared," the Ivrix said slowly. "Your species vanished. No communication. No trade. Just silence." "Yeah," Mercer nodded. "We, had some things to work through. Climate collapse, economic implosion, a few apocalypses. And one Tuesday, we realized the laws of physics were just really aggressive guidelines." "You're claiming to have surpassed natural law?" the Valari asked. Mercer raised a brow. I'm claiming we argued with it and won. Silence again. The Gralun finally spoke. Why return now? Mercer's eyes twinkled. Because someone's about to break the universe, and we'd rather be holding the wrench than lying under the wreckage. And if we resist? The ZYLK's voice was almost hopeful. Mercer's smile didn't shift, but something colder slid behind it. Then we'll politely escort you out of reality. After the meeting, the Council received a data burst. Encrypted. Terran origin. The file was titled, Welcome Packet, version 1.0.1. Its contents: a diagram of a cube folding into itself infinitely, a map of the universe, updated to include regions outside known spacetime, and a line of text, translated perfectly in every alien tongue. You thought you'd seen everything. We thought that too, before we started looking backward through time. The Council held its breath. Earth was back. And nothing made sense anymore. The Council didn't sleep. Not because their species required rest, most didn't, but because sleep was no longer safe. Since the encounter with Commander Elias Mercer aboard the Paradox, every known constant, scientific, strategic, and philosophical, was under review. And yet, in a small, artificial conference chamber hovering above the planet Quarnis 3, a second meeting was arranged. Not with committees or delegates. Not with soldiers. With Mercer. Again. Only this time, he brought company. Name's Quinn, she said, sliding into the seat next to Mercer. Early 30s. Blonde ponytail. Combat boots. Chewing on something that smelled like cinnamon gum and audacity. And you are? The Valari diplomat asked, tone clipped. Annoyed, she said. You folks summoned us like we're a pizza delivery. No tip, no smile. She leaned back and threw a boot up on the glowing table. Also, your chairs suck. Mercer gave a polite cough. What my associate means to say is, we're here under protest. Human protest, Quinn added. Which, historically, means someone's getting overthrown. The Gralun elder didn't flinch. We requested answers. You sent provocateurs. You asked for humans, Mercer replied, sipping again from his endless coffee mug. You got them. The Ivrix twitched irritably. What is your objective? The universe is not your laboratory. It's not yours either, Quinn said, unwrapping a chocolate bar from somewhere inside her jacket. Seriously, what is this room made of? Space plastic. The ZYLK general had enough. You mock us. You speak in circles. Give us truth, or we take it. Mercer set his mug down. The temperature in the room dropped, metaphorically, though the air systems began to hum like they'd felt it too. You want truth? He asked. Fine. He tapped a small crystal on the table. A projection expanded, millions of points forming a cosmic tapestry. You see that? He asked. That's your map of the galaxy. All the sectors you think you control. Your empire. The projection shifted. Half the stars vanished. New ones replaced them, shifting, blinking, rearranging. This, Mercer said softly, is ours. The Council delegates leaned forward. Lies? The Ivrix hissed. No, Mercer said. Just inconvenient truths. We've mapped parts of the universe you don't know exist. Not because you lack the tools, but because you lack the imagination. Quinn nodded. Your sensors are stuck looking for what used to be. We started looking for what couldn't be. The Valari looked shaken. But to alter star positions, even to map alternate physics, that would mean rewriting the cosmological substrate. Exactly, Mercer said. He leaned in. His voice was calm, measured. Do you understand what it means to walk into a black hole and walk out with a tan? The ZYLK general opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Quinn grinned. We're not explorers anymore. We're editors. Later, in a private corridor, one that, moments earlier, hadn't existed, Quinn turned to Mercer. They don't believe half of it. They don't want to, Mercer said. Which buys us time. She cracked her knuckles. Enough for what? Mercer looked down the endless hallway. To finish setting the stage. Back in the main chamber, the Council conferred in whispers. Some wanted peace. Others, preemptive strikes. But the Graalan elder, oldest among them, remained still. "There's something they're not saying," the elder finally said. "There's a lot they're not saying," the ZYLK growled. "No. Something hidden. Deliberate." The Valari nodded. The way Mercer spoke, measured, controlled. Like a surgeon deciding where to cut. "I've heard that tone once before," the Graalan said quietly. "Long ago. Before the fall of Thraxis Prime. Before the Archon collapse." "You mean?" "Yes," the elder said. "A tactician." On board the Paradox, Mercer stood in front of an impossible engine. It pulsed with a light that had no source. Quinn watched it flicker. "They'll try something soon." Mercer nodded. "Let them." She glanced sideways. "You sure the bait's set?" "Oh, it's set." He walked to the console, where holographic projections showed alien fleet scrambling. Surveillance drones. Patrol shifts. Dozens of moves. All predictable. "All we have to do," he said, "is look weak just long enough for them to make the wrong decision. And then..." His smile returned. "Then we remind them what extinction almost did to us." The Council called an emergency military summit. Some called for a blockade of Earth. Others, a full strike on the Paradox. A few, more cautious voices warned restraint. "Let me guess," Quinn said later, watching them from an invisible feed. "They're voting on whether to poke the bear again." "They always do," Mercer replied. "It's tradition." Quinn snapped her gum. "You think they'll try diplomacy first?" "Please. This is the part where they swing the hammer." He paused. "And don't realize we already bent the nail." The Valari strike fleet decloaked in orbit above Earth's exosphere at 0300 UTC. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't fire. They waited, which, in hindsight, was their first mistake. The commander of the fleet, Admiral Zalvet, stared at the planet below. Blue, calm, spinning lazily. Nothing about Earth looked dangerous. Except perhaps the silence. "Sir," a junior officer chirped, still no response from human defense satellites. "They're just observing." Zalvet narrowed his eyes. "Observing? With what?" "Lunar and orbital systems are active. Their AI networks are watching us. No signs of aggression." He stood slowly. "Then we'll be the first to act." Somewhere beneath Colorado, Mercer leaned on a console, stirring coffee with a pen. Quinn entered the command center, throwing a tablet onto the desk. "They're up there. Quiet, cloaked, posturing." "Valari." She nodded. "About 50 capital-class ships. Guess they skipped the subtle approach." Mercer didn't flinch. "Let them." "You always say that right before something explodes," Quinn muttered. Mercer sipped his coffee, then glanced at a large screen displaying the Valari formation. Beautiful symmetry. Predictable angles. You can almost taste the Academy protocol. Quinn grinned. "Wanna poke 'em?" He tapped a single button. In orbit, one of the Valari ships, Crescent Fury, screamed as every light on the bridge died. Consoles went black. Gravity reversed. For 3 full seconds, the ship twisted inside itself, then snapped back into alignment. Panic broke like wildfire across the fleet. "EMP." Zalvet barked. "No," his systems officer gasped. "Sir, that wasn't electromagnetic. It was spatial." "Meaning?" "We weren't attacked. Our coordinates changed. Briefly. Then reset." Zalvet turned cold. "You're telling me they bent position itself?" The officer swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. Physics didn't fail. It obeyed a new command." At UNAS Black Site 7, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Mercer leaned over the console again. "That was a gentle tap," he said. Quinn arched a brow. "You call teleporting their ship across half a light second gentle?" Mercer smiled. "We gave it back." "You ever gonna explain how we even do that?" "Eventually." She folded her arms. "You're terrifying, Elias." "I try to be polite about it." Hours later, the Galactic Council received a request. From Zalvet himself. He wanted a diplomatic meeting. Quinn nearly choked laughing. They want to talk now? Now. They've realized they're not the apex anymore, Mercer replied. Now they're looking for rules. And what do? We let them think they've found one. The conference was set aboard the Valiance, a neutral ship parked just outside the solar system. Alien envoys from 6 core species arrived with entourages. The Valari, the ZYLK, the Gralun, and others, all seasoned powers used to being obeyed. Mercer walked in late. Alone. Wearing a pressed grey suit and a slight smile. Apologies, he said. Traffic's murder this time of day. Zalvet stiffened in his chair. Commander Mercer. Admiral. Enjoying your stay? The Valari sneered. We're not here for pleasantries. Of course not, Mercer said, settling into his chair. Pleasantries are a luxury of the secure. The Gralun spoke up. Your actions risk destabilizing thousands of systems. Mercer nodded. And yet we haven't moved beyond our own atmosphere. Then how? The ZYLK demanded. How did you distort our ship? Mercer laced his fingers. Tell me, have you ever watched a bird fly into a glass window? It thinks the air is safe, until the rules change. You're calling our fleet birds? Zalvet hissed. Mercer smiled. No. I'm saying we're the architects of the glass. Later, behind closed doors, Quinn watched footage of the council session on loop. You just told 6 of the most dangerous species in the galaxy that we rewrote physics like it was a software patch. Didn't say it outright, Mercer said. Let them draw their own conclusions. She stared at him. You're weaponizing implication now. Always have. People fear what they don't understand, but they panic over what they almost understand. She paused. So what's next? He stood, walking toward a hidden vault. We let them investigate. Snooping is their nature. But we leave the breadcrumbs. He opened the vault. Inside was a small cube, black, smooth, humming softly. Are you finally deploying it? Quinn asked. Mercer nodded. If they want truth, they can chase it. Within 2 days, 3 alien reconnaissance teams were lost in deep space. Each had followed strange readings, gravitational blips, quantum distortions, only to vanish. The 4th team returned. Shaking. Incoherent. One word echoed from their translation logs. Impossible. In another corner of the galaxy, a warlord of the Threk species reviewed the footage. He wasn't part of the council. He didn't believe in diplomacy. He believed in conquest. They're playing games, he growled to his advisors. Scare tactics. Holograms. They moved a Valari battleship through space, an officer said nervously. So what? They bleed. We make them bleed. And thus, the second mistake was made. Back on Earth, Mercer was already 3 moves ahead. They'll send someone outside council control, he told Quinn. Someone stupid enough to try brute force. Let me guess, Threx. He nodded. Warlord Carrax. Known for bombarding moons to make a point. She loaded her pistol. Time to send a message. Time, Mercer agreed, to show restraint. She blinked. Restraint. Mercer smiled. By only destroying his fleet. When Carrax's fleet entered the Sol system, it wasn't met by humans. It was met by nothing. Not even static. Then, halfway to Mars, one of his carriers simply ceased. Not exploded. Not vanished. It stopped existing. The next one folded in on itself, turned inside out like paper in a storm. The third. It landed gently. Intact. But every single crew member was missing. Every corridor echoed with music. A soft jazz tune from the 1950s. On loop. Council intelligence panicked. This is not war, the Valari whispered. This is psychology. They're sending messages, the Gralun added. Worse, said the Ivrix. They're testing us. In the shadows of a debriefing room, Mercer sipped his coffee again. Any response from Carrax? Quinn asked. He's still alive, Mercer said. But very, very quiet. She grinned. So what now? Mercer leaned back. Now, we let the galaxy debate whether we're gods, monsters, or both. The galaxy buzzed with panic thinly disguised as diplomacy. Secret meetings, urgent communiques, nervous speculation. Everyone had a theory. None were correct. The humans had rewritten physics. Or perhaps they had merely discovered an older code. Either way, the implication was intolerable to empires built on centuries of certainty. But in the quiet, behind all that noise, Mercer sat with a deck of cards and a tired smile. He'd already won. He was just waiting for the galaxy to realize it. The Valari returned first, cloaked in polite apologies and strategic curiosity. They sent a delegation of scientists, philosophers, and neutral observers. Mercer welcomed them. Come in. Ask questions. Touch the walls. Sniff the data. The Valari High Advisor tilted his head. You are unnervingly open. We're humans, Mercer replied with a shrug. We love showing off. In orbit above Saturn, aboard an observation station disguised as a weather satellite, the Valari examined a human-built machine called Project Dandelion. It looked simple, just a floating sphere, humming softly. But it was feeding from raw vacuum, generating entropy-negative events. One Valari scientist wept in silence. This violates thermodynamic law, he whispered. Only if you believe the universe has laws, Mercer said from behind, and not just habits. The alien turned slowly. You expect us to accept this? No, Mercer said. I expect you to fear it. Meanwhile, Quinn coordinated another operation. The Threx remnants were scrambling, half their leaders gone, their AI networks corrupted by a virus that looped only one phrase, "We bent first." It's working, she told Mercer over comms. Everyone's too scared to strike. They're trying to understand, not invade. Mercer's voice came through calmly. Perfect. We're nearly there. There. The moment they stop asking how, and start asking why. And then the Council called for a summit. Emergency level. Mandatory. It was to be held on Irid Prime, the diplomatic heart of the galaxy. Neutral, ancient, built inside the husk of a dead star. Mercer arrived last. As always. He wore black. Not a uniform. Not armor. Just a tailored suit, crisp and quiet, as if he were attending a board meeting. Every species had sent their finest minds. Scientists. Strategists. Empaths. Weapons analysts. None of them spoke first. So Mercer did. You've all seen the anomalies. You've seen the fleet disappear. You felt the laws around you stretch. He placed a small cube on the table. It spun, hovered, and unfolded, showing a star map. Here's what you haven't seen, the pattern. He tapped the cube. Lines traced across the map, intersections, spirals, gravity wells, wormhole routes. Every time one of you tried to surveil us, you triggered this pattern. You think you've been studying us. He paused. But we've been studying you. A beat of silence. You set a trap? The Ivrix diplomat asked. Mercer smiled. No. We are the trap. In the audience chamber, the temperature dipped, though no system changed. Psychological. Intentional. The silence was crushed by Admiral Zalvet's rising voice. You dare threaten the Council? Mercer tilted his head. I haven't threatened anyone. You've disrupted the balance of power. Power, Mercer said softly, was always an illusion. You just hate that we made it obvious. The ZYLK leaned forward. What do you want? And finally, Mercer showed his teeth. I want peace. But not the kind you manufacture through treaties and mutual deterrence. I want earned peace. The kind that comes after everyone has seen exactly what happens when they try to break it. After the meeting, Mercer walked the marble halls of Irid Prime, hands in his pockets, humming something soft. Quinn caught up. Well, that was dramatic. I was aiming for memorable. They looked like you'd kicked their gods in the teeth. I probably did. She fell in beside him. So, mission accomplished. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, almost. 3 hours later, in a hidden chamber below the council hall, the remaining power blocks met in secret. The humans are bluffing, one insisted. The technology is misdirection. They want us afraid, another agreed. So we'll surrender power without a shot fired. But an old, crusted Gralun war priest thumped his staff. No. They are not bluffing. I've seen what they left on the edge of my system. The others turned. He tossed a shard onto the table. It pulsed with data. Projection systems lit up. The room went dark except for the display. They watched. 1 minute of footage. It showed a Threx dreadnought being eaten, not by fire, not by weapons, but by absence. Like something had inverted the space around it and subtracted it from reality. At the end of the clip, a human voice whispered through static. Next time, knock. The war priest leaned forward. They are not bluffing. They are practicing. Back on Earth, Mercer sat on the balcony of a cabin in Montana. No screens. No noise. Just wind. He sipped bourbon and watched the stars. Quinn called in. They're folding. Council's issuing new protocols. Ceasefire charters. Technology containment pacts. They're treating us like a storm no one wants to name. Good, he said. We're safe. We were always safe, he replied. Now we're understood. She paused. You gonna tell me what Project Dandelion really is? No. Ever. No. Then he added, but it's not a weapon. Not exactly. She exhaled. You're a maddening man, Mercer. I try to be polite about it. Elsewhere, far beyond even Irid Prime's range, something shifted in a dark sector long thought uninhabited. A dormant probe flickered awake. It received a signal. Human-made. It smiled. And began to walk.